Hi, Dr. Peter Montgomery, here to give another COVID update. It is April the 21st, Tuesday. Going to give an update on where things are right now and talk about how is this going to end, or actually, how is the first wave going to end, and how are we going to avoid the second wave? And what does the future look like based on the epidemiology of today and what we know today? So I'm going to take you now to look at charts that I use to update myself on how things are going and give you a little insight to where I think things will be going. All right, hang tight. All right, so again, I like to start with the U.S. weather map temperatures brought to us by Kinza, the thermometer you can upload your information to the internet with. There's several million of them around the U.S., at least one in every county. So they would give pretty good data. It's not like in every nursing home or every hospital is using them, but it's in a lot of people's homes being used by normal people. And what we're seeing is they've collecting data for over 10 years and created a temperature average for the what day of the year it is. And normally things get calmed down during the summer. There's less sick people, so usually it's about 2% of the people will be running some sort of fever at any given time. Right now, we are like at nearly zero. They're actually saying observed zero. People using the thermometers currently recording any fevers in the U.S. today. Wow. Social distancing really cuts down on how many people are sick. We are obviously, you can see here before, we were on the curve, and then thing rose with the big wave of infection, and the national shutdown started around this night, pretty much St. Patrick's Day on. Dramatic cut down, people getting a little tired of it, not doing so much. But the curve was not quite as a steep drop, but kind of things calm down. Now, obviously, if we go back to normal behavior, the fever curve is going to come back up to historical norms. What we don't want is another big national wave in the red zone here. That's what they're worried about. Of course, it's going to go up. This is not normal. This is not natural results here. This zero people running fevers. So, if you take from the time there's a first case in the U.S. about January 20th, it took about 2 months to get up to this very high level. Of course, zero people had immunity at the time. It's estimated 15, maybe 20% of the communities had it. A lot of the people who had the worst case may have already had their worst case and may have already died. A second wave may not be as bad, but still 80% of the population who can still get infected. We've learned a lot about how to take care of it. We've learned that hydroxychloroquine, which had a lot of hope, so far is not shown to be very well at keeping people from winding up going to the hospital, keeping from people going on ventilators, or helping them stay alive. So it's really not showing up that great so far. There's still a lot of trials going in the U.S., several hundred actually, and a few preventative for healthcare workers if they took hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, with less of them get sick in their exposure to patients who are sick. So a lot of those trials are still ongoing. A lot of those results will be available probably in June. So we'll know a bit more of the story then. But right now, some of the initial studies being done in France, some at the University of Virginia, and some from China have not been showing any dramatic improvement or cases like there initially were from some of the early studies at the southern France in Marseille. There was some early research saying, hey, it may be effective, but less so. What is shown to be effective is being healthy. Eating well, being losing weight or being of a normal weight, not smoking, eating a healthy diet with fruits and vegetables, and whole grains and all the stuff that is generally healthy that keep your vitamin C levels up and your vitamin D levels up. These things have been proven to be helpful. Regular exercise, deep breathing, taking a hot bath, a sauna, or exercise, anything that raises your temperature once a day to trigger your immune system to wake up, to get deep blood flow throughout the body. Things are good for you emotionally, having social interaction contacts, and having, just generally good health habits are what's going to help us with the next wave and help us prevent the next wave or blunt the next wave. One of the biggest things that's happened is they canceled the Tokyo Olympics. The Tokyo Olympics was going to be a huge petri dish. It would have mimicked World War I. With the Spanish flu, the virus got into the soldiers of World War I and infected a bunch of young, healthy men in their 20s to 40s, and then went out to the rest of the world where infected people in their 20s to 40s, because that's the environment where it really bred and got worse at. And that's why it was a very unusual flu, because it killed lots of people in their young age in the 20s and 40s and killed them quickly. So the last thing we want to do is get a bunch of young, healthy athletes and a bunch of young, healthy traveling people in their 20s and 40s and have them hang out in one place together and bring virus DNA from separate parts of the world, bring together and have a competition to see which virus would be the best, and then to redistribute that to the rest of the world. That would have been horrible. So that's not going to happen. We're still going to get people traveling again and spreading germs around in airports and stuff, but at least they're not going to be living together in concentrated areas, breeding the virus to become worse than before. So I think this is the best decision in this whole time that anybody has made, was canceling the Olympics and putting it off to next year. Kind of looking at the numbers for at least the U.S., New York has sadly hit a mark of 1,000 deaths per million population. Again, that's for New York State. Again, most of that in New York City, which is even worse than that. Things have just been absolutely horrible in New York City and the New York area. Just so many people living close together and not locking things down early enough. It should have been locked down a week or so earlier. New Jersey, half as many cases, still terrible. Also Connecticut, other concentrated areas, Boston, Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, Indianapolis, South Chicago blends into Gary there. So just kind of going down now. Good news, some states did much, much better and controlled it. Some rather large states did. California, largest state in the nation, had a very low death per million. They did a fantastic job. And for 40 million people, very few deaths per population. In Missouri, we're about the same level. We've done a very good job of locking things down early. I mean, main thing is we kept things below our resources. This is another website. University of Washington does this website. U.S. Projected curve, very wide range of projections, but we seem to be staying on the lower end. U.S. death curve predicted to hit about 65,000, which is twice your average flu season. And the estimates were that was going to be at least 500,000 if we'd done nothing, up to 2 million in some estimates. So we have done a lot of reduction. Could have been better, yes, but doing better also would have been worse economically, yes. So it's a tough balance there. U.S. still having a shortage of beds and ICU beds and ventilators, and almost all that is New York City. This website does allow us to zoom in, so 5,000 beds short. And if you zoom in on New York City, it's all of it. That's all New York. New York is where the shortage is. Everybody else did a good job of getting it below resources. Only New York has it. They're actually back down to how many beds they actually have. Their ICU beds, they still don't have enough. This also gives the impression, did they not have enough to begin with? This is 10 or 20 years of not investing enough in their hospital systems in the East Coast area, New York, New Jersey, Boston. California has way more than enough. Same country, but different emphasis on what to do. Nowhere near, their capacity, way below. Here we are in the middle of the country. We got East Coast, West Coast, so I nominate Missouri to be the middle of the country, way below our capacity. We have plenty of enough capacity, and that's how you get low death rate. If you exceed your capacity, you get a high death rate. So those are political decisions on when to lock things down, and this website tracks when those were made. For Missouri, March 23rd was fine. For New York City, March 23rd was late. They're much more, we joke here in Missouri that all the trends and everything get to us later. New York was closed things on March 12th, March 16th, March 18th, but that was too late. They should have shut down long before that. People are like, well, it wasn't even on the register. It wasn't happening. That's not how viruses work. You got to start way before this. The people dying is the last thing to happen. The people being in the hospital, the people being sick, that was clearly happening way before that. So hopefully now we can take this knowledge and apply this and help prevent a second wave. That's where this is all is at. Maybe this will be one wave and done. Maybe this is done. Maybe we've learned a lesson and we can keep this from coming back in the fall or this winter. Hopefully we'll have learned more. Will we have a vaccine yet? No. Will we have herd immunity? No. That takes, estimates I've seen, 70% of the population, and it takes a long time to get 70% of the population. And of course, we're going to have less cases. Great. We want less cases. This also means it's slower to get us get herd immunity. And the vaccines just don't seem to work well for respiratory viruses of this type because they just infect these superficial cells. And vaccines work by getting you to make antibodies, which float around your bloodstream. This virus doesn't get to your bloodstream until late, until you're already infected. So I am, from what I know about vaccines, and I'm no virologist or immunologist, but what I've read, that's why we don't have a common cold vaccine, because they attack the top layer of the cells of the nasal passages in the lungs and don't really get in your bloodstream. So herd immunity is going to be the plan, and it's going to take a long time to get herd immunity. It could be 10 years or so till enough people get infected. But hopefully we'll have learned how to fight this better. Hopefully as a country we'll have learned that we have got to get healthier. We have got to go on a massive weight loss, improved health project, eating healthy food. People are dying a lot because of blood clots. The infection is triggering inflammation, and the inflammation triggers blood clots. Some diets are lower inflammatory, some diets are higher inflammatory. A vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean diet is much less arterial inflammatory than a high protein keto, paleo, Atkins diet. They've been very popular. People lose weight on them, but there's no long-term studies going more than 3 months showing that they're healthy. And they are definitely short-term studies showing they are very inflammatory. They inflame your arteries, your C-reactive protein, and other chemical markers of basically being on fire chemically, if you will. I make the analogy to a bunch of oily rags and cigarette butts sitting around. That's what these diets do to your arterial lining and the chemical reactions that are in there. And it makes them inflamed and irritated. And then all you need is a spark or a strong wind and everything catches fire. When things catch fires in your arteries, you get blood clots, heart attacks, strokes. And sadly, that's what's happening to a lot of people on these meat and potato diets, these high protein, high fat diets, or their lifestyle has been this way. The elderly is just harder. The immune systems are weaker as we get older, again, because of lack of activity, lack of deep breathing. Older people do not generate as good of a fever reaction as they should when they get infected, to respond to the infection. But there are young people dying from this disease, and from what I've heard in my community, they just weren't healthy to begin with. So that's the one thing we can do to prevent the next wave hitting yourself, hitting your family, your loved ones, hitting this country, is we've got to really take this summer to get really healthy. When I started getting things ready for videos, I wasn't planning on doing anything on this. I've been planning on doing videos on health on a website that I've started called Aging is Optional. The speed at which we age is optional based on our diet and lifestyle. And we can slow this down. We can take the foot off the accelerator by eating better, by behaving better. So I'm going to focus on my next videos, not on the virus, not on the coronavirus, but I want to start focusing on being healthy. What can we do to eat better. I got my first video ready here, the aging is optional video. I need to redo it. I slurred my words a lot. I'm getting better at speaking into microphones. I'm going to talk about the diet. The diet is high in fiber, low in meat. We don't need a lot of protein. We become a country of proteinaholics, and it's not healthy. Yes, you can get some short-term weight loss gains on this diet, but so do a lot of diets that aren't dangerous for us. And lifestyle, how to exercise, sleep, and just lots of other things you can do, because the whole point of living longer is to live better and to enjoy it. And again, I call it a meat minimal diet. I am not a vegan or vegetarian. I respect that ethos. I have to meet people where they're at, and I have to be honest with myself. I like the taste. It's delicious. I know there are ethical issues, and that really makes people angry, and I respect your point of view on that. But reality is, most people in the world, over 90%, are not going to stop eating some kind of meat, but we absolutely need to be eating less meat, eggs, and dairy. I get a lot of my information from a website called nutritionfacts.org, run by a Dr. Michael Greger, who is a lifestyle management specialist. His entire career, even back in medical school, he was pushing this issue, and he's been doing this very hard for over a decade, probably 20 years, and has an enormous library of videos that I've been reading watching them for years, educating myself, changing my own diet, helping me create a diet plan that I get to my patients, which I'll be sharing with you. So this is where I'm going to make my future videos, a short update about the coronavirus, and then what can you do in realistic terms to improve your diet today and your lifestyle today. So I'm going to be focusing on that from this point forward, and then putting that on this website. You can go there to get it. And I will make links to Dr. Greger's website, Aging is Optional. He is a full-blown vegan. He is fantastic. I wish I could be as good as him. But the whole point is progress. Keep working in the right direction someday, and we'll see what we can do there. So tune in. I'll be making more videos along that line of what can we do to not succumb to the virus. What can we do to help our loved ones and our family members eat better, live better, and so we can get the country back to a normal, healthy state, health-wise and economic-wise, because we're able to get out and about because we are in a healthier state of being. So everybody hang in there, and let's work on our rate of aging being optional. So see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.